What's going on, guys? Bob Roche from RocheTechnology.com here with another live Hackintosh build. Today we're going to be building a Hackintosh based on the socket 2011 CPUs. We're going to be using a motherboard with the X79 chipset, which is basically just sheer performance. This build here is about $2,500. As you see here, we have tons of goodies, and so it's going to be kind of just like any other build video that you've seen. I will be doing some iPhone footage to get you guys up close and personal to the actual components and what I'm doing. And of course, the camcorder to see stuff from multiple angles here. So it should work out like all my other live builds. Grab some Hackintosh juice, which I have quite a bit here, 24 ounces of fun. And go ahead and grab some popcorn, any kind of food or anything that you want, because it's probably going to be about a 2-hour video, I would say, once I edit some stuff down and whatever have you. I am, of course, recording this and as well as streaming it. So go ahead and head over to RocheTechnology.com/live, and that's where you can watch me whenever I do a live build like this. It's pretty fun. Come hang out. I, of course, have the chat on the iPad, so shout out to you if you're in the chat, which are a decent amount of you, but I'm always looking to get some more. So if you guys are interested in watching stuff like this, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, go ahead and follow my website, my YouTube channel, anything like that, and you'll be notified when I do this kind of stuff. So I figured what I'll do now, I'll go ahead and just lay out the components, and I think, let's see here, do you guys have anything you guys want to see in particular? I was thinking about starting off with the GPU. I don't think it really matters, but I like to get some interaction going between the chat. Alright, so a lot of people are saying motherboard first, and so I have some stuff here that shouldn't fall. Okay. Alright, for the motherboard we have the P9 X79 from Asus, or sorry, the X79 Pro from Asus. This is a really nice motherboard. Like I said, basically just meant for sheer performance. I tend to think of the socket 2011 as kind of a socket 1366, just newer, because you can get those 6-core options. The processors themselves don't have any kind of video on them, so you do require a dedicated GPU. But because you can get so much performance out of those CPUs, Intel kind of just assumes that you're going to be using a GPU anyway, so that's where that comes into play. But I'll go ahead and on the camcorder on the YouTube version, go ahead and zoom in a little bit. There we go. So there's a little bit closer view of the box. There you go. Go ahead and I'll change the live camera here once I can find my mouse cursor. There we go. So for you live people, here's the box. P9 X79 Pro from Asus. Tons of great features. PCI 3. You got USB 3. Like I said, the socket 2011. We have 8 RAM slots on this bad boy, so for a maximum of 64 gigabytes of RAM. So it's going to be a very nice system. I really don't think it will be experiencing any memory limitations at any time soon. And we will be installing 32 gigabytes of memory today. So there's the board. I guess I'll just put this off to the side for now. Next I'll just go off with the GPU just because it's right here. Here we have the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 670. Go ahead and change this camera on the live. There you go. GTX 670. Very nice card. 2 gigabytes of video memory. We have tons of CUDA cores on here where if you're using programs like After Effects or Premiere, editing is going to offload some of that from the CPU onto the GPU, so giving you faster performance and also freeing up your CPU. This is overclocked right out of the box, so it's going to give you really, really fast performance as opposed to some of those other manufacturers. And this card features something I really like, and that is the WindForce cooling system. So 3 fans on this guy. There's 1, 2, 3 right on the card. You'll see that in a second, but offers fantastic cooling. So put that off to the side for now. Get notifications everywhere. And I guess we could jump to the processor next. Here we have the Intel Core i7-3930K. This is a 6-core processor. Does not come with a CPU cooler of any kind. That's why we have this guy, which I'll get a little bit more into in a second. But on the live stream, we'll go ahead and we'll change it, show you guys the CPU, show you guys what's shaking. LGA 2011, like I said, 6-core, meant for performance. And as you can see here, unlocked and unleashed. This guy here is bred to be overclocked, so really great there. And you see, because this is a socket 2011, extremely big processor as opposed to some others. So give you guys just a second to look around the box here, nothing too crazy. But there's the processor. The most expensive piece of this build It is also the smallest. How ironic. Usually how it is, though. You want all of that hardware. I think everybody does. Unless you have something better, of course. But here we go. Go ahead and go to the memory. We have 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance, 1600 megahertz. I don't know why we always express, the frequency of memory in like hundreds rather than a CPU. We don't say 3200 megahertz. We just say 3.2 gigahertz. So, just a little soapbox there. But for the live guys, here's the memory. There you go, 32 gigabytes, Vengeance. And, not too much to say here. These are 8 gigabyte sticks each, so we have 4 8 gigabyte sticks, 32 gigabytes. And because this board has 8 slots, we can actually add a whole nother one of these to get 64. So tons of performance out of there. Well, not really performance, but applications, running smooth, not crashing or bogging down, things like that. Quick stop to the chat room. Yes, very good RAM. How far are we going to overclock the CPU? Probably 4 or 4.5 gigahertz. Probably 4.5 is a little high just because of temperatures. Probably right around 4.2-ish. Now for the wireless card, because networking in computers these days is just absolutely important, we have the TP-Link TL-WDN 4800. Go ahead and show this guy down here after I almost drop it to the live streamers. Very compatible wireless card with OS X, works right out of the box. Very nice card. Plug-and-play solution. It's just instantly recognized as an airport card, just like an Apple one. So I rarely have any kind of issues with this card. And I use one personally in my budget build. I've included 2 of these in other client builds, so pretty good stuff. Alright, moving, I guess we'll do the CPU cooler now. Here we have a Corsair H80i. Go ahead and show this off to the live streamers. This is a very nice liquid cooler, and as far as I knew, like before I got this, I didn't even know that this existed. I guess the I might stand for improved or something like that. Maybe this is like a second generation, because as far as I knew, they just had the H60, the H80, and the H100. Now they have the H80i and H100i. So I assume the I stands for like improved or something. But here we go. Here's like a little graph of performance. It's saying that on a 3770K, which is a Core i7 1155 socket, at 4.6 gigahertz, 100% load, this guy keeps it at about 50 degrees Celsius, whereas with the stock cooler, it failed, which means that it exceeded 100 degrees Celsius. So, very nice cooler. So we'll go ahead and put that off to the side for now. And I guess we'll go here. Here's the power supply. We have the HX750. This is obviously a 750 watt power supply. Show this off to the chat here. There you go. I didn't feel we needed to go with like a kilowatt, just because of the price differences, unless there's a a good sale or something going on. But this should handle all this stuff just fine. There probably isn't going to be quite as much room for upgrading stuff as I would like. But then again, we're already going to be using a good amount of drives and stuff like that, so I don't think we should run into any complications with that. So there's that. Like I said, fully modular, 80 plus gold certified, everything like that. And Corsair makes awesome power supplies. The moose is actually called CPU Moose, and you can follow him on Twitter, so go ahead and check him out. Also, the Pink Scissors of Death and the Hackintosh Juice Knife. You can follow all 3 on Twitter, so go ahead and do that now. H100i or H80 in Define R4. Do you want 1 radiator or 2? They should both fit. I don't know. Alright, so I guess we'll go with the drives. Here we have 3 Intel Series 330 solid-state drives. These are 120 gigabytes apiece. And we have 3 of them. As you see, we have the other 2 right here. We're going to be using 2 of these in a RAID 0 array on the Hackintosh, which is going to give us amazing read and write performance as well. I mean, you don't get that redundancy, so if one of these drives goes bad, you will lose everything. So whenever you do a RAID 0, it's really important that you make regular backups, because 2 drives has twice the failure rate, or like I guess the chance of a failure. So make sure you back up, because like I said, one of these drives goes down, everything goes down. So make sure you have a way to restore. And we'll be using the 3rd just for a Windows installation, because of course you can run Windows on a Hackintosh just fine. And I actually use that same solid state drive in my main computer. I just got it recently, about a month or so ago-ish, give or take, and I absolutely love it. So there's that. And now we move on to the hard drives. We have two 2TB Western Digital green drives. This isn't, you know, like the best performance drive out there. It's not, say, like a gamer's drive, like a black version of the drive, but you know, just for storage and media, things like that, these drives are going to be fine. I don't know what we're going to be doing in terms of RAID arrays or anything. As far as I know, I don't think we'll be raiding these because they're just going to be for storage and things like that. But that's, I mean, these aren't my drives, so there's that. Now this, I don't know the exact model number of, but you know, on the actual YouTube version, this will be down there a little lower third. I'll put the model number. But this is indeed an LG Blu-ray drive. So this Hackintosh will be able to read and write to Blu-rays. Which personally, I wouldn't use on my computer just because I never use optical media anymore. I found myself, I mean, when I built my budget computer, there was no optical drive and I wasn't missing it. So, I mean, that's just where we are now in technology. That optical media is kind of going away totally. Which I'm all for. I'm always, you know, looking forward to the next thing. Optical drives are clunky and CDs are clunky and, you know, all that stuff. But now here we have the case. On the live stream, I'll move this over to the main camera. Here we have the Corsair Graphite 600T. This is the snow white version of this case. You know, not too much to say about it other than rock on, because I love this case. There's just so many great features about it. That whole thing comes off for a big old dust guard. Tons of really nice fans in here. I'll go ahead and I'll try to show you guys this. On the YouTube version, I'll zoom in a bit. There's the front I/O. We have 4 USB 2.0 ports over here. We have I believe this is a line out. I can't see right now, but line out and line in, I believe. Here we have a nice big old knob for a fan controller, which I believe supports 4 4 fans. So you can rev those up if you're exporting or something. And then 2 USB 3.0s. Actually, no, it's 1 USB 3.0. We also have a FireWire as well. So lots of I/O options, which is always nice. That's something I really don't like about my PowerMac G5 case for my Hackintosh. I have 1 USB port on the front and a FireWire, which I never use. So I could really use some more front I/O. But I'll go ahead and I'll open this case up for you guys. Where did I get the big moose? Oh man, I got that thing at least a decade ago, and I was really young when I got that thing. And I think my mom just bought it for me. I was really young when I got it. But yeah, he's been chilling with me for, and yes, I did just say chillin'. I am aware that I'm not ghetto at all, but there's that. So here's inside of the case, and I'll see how good of an angle I can get for the live viewers. Yeah, it's kind of cutting off there. I'll see if I can do something like this. But for the live viewers, there's the inside of the case. A nice big CPU cutout here. I'll get a little bit more into this in a second, but just to show you guys, you know, that are watching live, what this case is all about. Basically, cable management out the wazoo. This case is awesome for cable management, as you know, and that can't be said for every case out there. Some cases don't have any kind of, you know, like where you put the cables in the back. They really don't have much cable management, and that's how you get spaghetti-looking stuff inside your case. So I like to have a nice, clean system. Once again, something else I don't like about my PowerMac G5 case, it simply wasn't meant for this kind of hardware, so there's wires everywhere. It's kind of gross. But now, we've gone through all the components, so I'll go ahead and let you guys see what we want to install first. I typically go with the motherboard, but it could go power supply. But I personally would lean towards the motherboard. Why is the case not in black? Why, you racist? No, I'm kidding. Honestly, I just think this case looks great in white. I think they also have kind of like a silver gray one as well. I would say almost kind of like a charcoal color. And I think that looks really nice too, but I like the white better. Yeah, so most people are saying motherboard. So actually, you know what? I'm going to move this case off to the side. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to put it on the ground for now. But alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the motherboard here. Here's the motherboard. Cracking open the box here. And I will also be doing a full motherboard unboxing on my YouTube channel, like its own video. So look for that in the next couple days. But But there's the board itself. I'll put this off to the side for now. And further into the box, we have some beautifully engineered cardboard. Here we have an SLI bridge, just a two-way. We also have a three-way SLI bridge, like, you know, there you go, pretty standard stuff. Although we won't be using it in this build. That would just be insane. 3 670s, that'd be crazy. Alright, here we have six, count them, 6 SATA cables. There you go, there's that for the live viewers. Here's the rear I/O panel. There you go. And these, I believe this is a USB header. It's like a little extender. And we also have a, like for where you plug in the little power cables for, you know, the hard drive LED and the power LED, things like that. That's what, I guess that's kind of like a little extender. So I don't know, that's interesting stuff. We also have, you know, a DVD and the usual manuals and stuff that no one ever needs, but they're included anyway. So that's pretty much all that's in the box. This box also features some cool Velcro stuff. So there's that. Alright, Hackintosh juice before continuing. So breaking into the motherboard here, take it out of the wrap, and, you know, for the purpose of, you know, trying to ground myself, there's some metal poles on the table, trying to do all I can. But as I said in the beginning, I don't know if it was on the camcorder version or not, but I've never ever had a problem with, you know, anything getting ruined due to static electricity or anything like that. Alright, so here we have the motherboard. Go ahead and show this off to the camcorder really quick. And actually, you know what? I'll see if I can zoom into this. There you go. So this is where you definitely want to watch the YouTube version, because this is going to be much improved quality. But there's the board. Very nice motherboard. You can see we have the CPU socket right there front and center. On either side of it over there we have 4 RAM slots, quad channel memory for a maximum of 64 gigabytes like I said. We have 4 PCI Express slots, 2 PCI 1X slots, no traditional PCI or anything like that. Because honestly, I don't think you plan on using that if you're going to go this high end of a system. Moving on the side, down here, we have those 8 SATA ports. 4 of them are 2.0, 4 of them are 3.0. Now, there's also various features on this motherboard. Like I said, USB 3, PCI 3. We have a little USB 3.0 header there for, you know, the front of your case, which we do have a USB 3.0 port there. This also has a power and a reset button right on the PCB there, so that's really nice. And looking at rear I/O options, we have a plethora. 4 USB 2.0 ports, CMOS reset, I'm trying to get this straight here, CMOS reset, we have a standard RJ45 Ethernet adapter, you know, USB 3.0, standard audio, stuff like that. So very nice board. On this board you can actually see all the, you know, the cooling pipes. Sorry for the live viewers, I was kind of more focusing on the YouTube version there, but a big old CPU socket here, all those 8 memory slots, really nice heat pipes, things like that throughout here. So very nice motherboard. I would definitely recommend this motherboard, and actually this is my first Asus board that I've actually, you know, used in a build. So I've just been always going with Gigabyte boards. They work great. I absolutely love Gigabyte boards. They tend to work pretty much right out of the box for the most part, unless you're using kind of like, you know, like a weirder chipset. But for the most part, definitely great boards. Okay, now here I'll break out the iPhone really quick. Let's see here, video. And I just want to show you guys on the YouTube version some of the, I guess, features of this case, just a closer, you know, in-depth look. So here we have the inside of the case, and the first thing you see is, holy crap, a huge fan. That thing is 200 millimeters at the top, humongous fan, which is going to be great. Bigger fans move more air at slower speeds, so therefore you don't have to have as much power getting that thing going. It's also not as loud because the RPMs are slower, so that's very nice. We also have a 200 millimeter fan up here for the hard drive bays, so it keeps all your drives here nice and cool. And of course that's an intake fan, so there's a dust guard up here as part of the front here. So moving back here, standard 120 millimeter fan, although that will probably be coming off to make room for the H80i cooler. You know, the radiator will go there. And I'll also probably put on the included fan with that. So down here we have all the PCI, I call them cages. I know you people have probably never heard anyone call those cages before, but I'm that guy. Moving over here, we have a humongous cutout for a CPU cooler, which is great because a lot of manufacturers actually include this now, but some of them are too small. I mean, when I built my Mufasa build, the dual CPU, that was a nightmare because if I want to take that CPU cooler off, because it was a dual processor motherboard, it was kind of in a weird spot and I couldn't get to it, so I had to pull the board anyway. So not cool. Here we have tons of little, I want to say like wire routing rubber thingy-majiggies. I'm going to call them that for now, but tons of places where you can run cables and keep your case looking really cool, really clean up here. So here's all the different headers for the the front panel switches. There's USB. Here's all your power switch, power LED, things like that. Tons of USB headers, HD audio. So there's all those. And these hard drive bays are really nice too because they're really flexible and they're very easy to go in and out. And also they have holes at the bottom for solid state drives, so you don't have to have a 2.5 to 3.5 inch converter or anything like that. So very cool. I don't know what Rizzle kicks are. I don't know if I want to know. No, I will not be installing the OS in this live stream. Obviously, I will be doing it after, but I have other stuff I have to do today, so I'm trying not to be on here until like 8 o'clock. So, with the 2011 CPUs and just like motherboards and everything, I think there are a ton of different kernel flags that you have to do to get it installed. And right now, I just don't have the time to figure all those out, but I'll be doing it later tonight, so I'll keep you guys updated, of course. But now what I need is some screws here. Alright, so here we have all the screws for the motherboard. How does this snow here? I don't want to talk about it. There's too much. I mean, there's a lot here, and I didn't even really get hit with that big storm. So I really don't want to even imagine what other people have gotten. What's my major in college? I'm going for MIS, which is Management Information Systems. So it's kind of like the geekier side of business, I would say. Alright, now based on the size of these screws, I would say these are the motherboard screws. But it's always good to be sure before a live fail happens. Actually, I think I'm going to be getting a nice, a little, like a cereal bowl or something for these screws. I tend not to use the ice cube tray. I thought it'd be a great idea, but I figured that, I don't have that many screws that need sorted anyway, so yeah, these are the screws. And shout out to all you people on Twitter. That's awesome. Thank you for all the sharing and reposting and retweets and all that good stuff. And so, you know what? I guess I'll just, yeah, I'll do a quick little iPhone camera action. Alright, so here we have the inside of the case. Like I said, that big old fan still amazes me. But we're going to be installing the motherboard here, and what you have to do when you go to install the motherboard is you can probably see it right there. We have a little screw. There's 9 of these for an ATX motherboard. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and there's also 3 at the bottom there. So all we're going to be doing is lining them up with the little holes on the motherboard, which are, let's see if we can find one right there. And we're simply just going to screw them into the case. So nothing too complicated here. If you've never done it before, then it's really not that hard. But let's go ahead and we'll get this stuff done. So go ahead and move the board here. And I'm loving how much space is inside of this case. And actually, what we should do first is do the I/O shield. Will I be getting the iPhone 5S? I will not. I'm actually really looking and going to an Android phone. Which honestly, a year ago, I never thought I would say, but I really am, kind of interested in the Android world. It's really gotten a lot better in the last year or so, especially with Jelly Bean and Key Lime Pie that's going to be coming up. So I'm really interested in trying Android out, especially on like a Note, like something with a big screen like that. That's really fun. But if you've never done this before, basically all you do, there's little like grooves in it, and on the back of the case here, there's a little cutout. All you do is just push it right on. So nothing too complicated. Yeah, I'm definitely considering a phone like the Galaxy S4 or whatever it's going to be called. Which again, I never thought I'd be saying, but I really am interested in trying it out. Alright, so rear I/O shield is in place. And now we're just going to take the board here. I'll try not to give you guys on a live stream too much arm cam. But there will be likely some arm cam required. Alright, so I'll go and I'll hit the iPhone here again. Sorry for the shoulder cam. Alright, so here we are inside of the case again. And as you can hopefully see here, I'll try to do my best here. See how the screw holes are all lined up? If you look up there, you look up here, which, sorry if that doesn't focusing perfect, but they're all lined up, so all you simply have to do is, take a screwdriver and screw all those in, and before you know it, your motherboard will be nice and secure. Which, you can't have an unsecure motherboard, because then as soon as you stand up your case, the whole thing goes crashing down, and what do you know? You're out anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on your board. So that's definitely not cool. Yeah, I'm going to be putting this on YouTube as well. And the quality will be better than the live stream, because I'm using my Canon Vixia HF M400 up there to record it. Hello to the YouTube viewers. Let's see here, I have a that back fan. Nah, never mind, it's not a big deal. I thought it was behind the motherboard, but it's just like at the back of the case. No biggie. Oh, and by the way, I want to see tons of forum posts by the end of today, so you guys better get on that. And if you have any suggestions for the forum, feel free to let me know, because this website is all about you guys. I want to have everything there that you guys, kind of want there. I've already had a request for a Linux section of the forum, and I will be doing that whenever I have some free time, probably later tonight. Is this angle still good, viewers? Live viewers? I just don't know if my arm is in the way too much or anything. That one's not going in. Alright, good. Hopefully one day I can get another C910 to replace the 510. I know the quality of that isn't amazing, but it should be enough to get by for now. Alright, so 1, 2, 3. And when you're doing this, when you're installing the motherboard into the case, if say for example one of the screws just is not lining up, like one of the holes, just start screwing them in, because I found out that as you go along and the more screws that you have in place, the board will kind of just like shift itself that little bit that you need, and it should be fine. Yeah, when you're doing these screws, when you're screwing all these things in, don't do them too tight. You don't have to wrench on them, because then you strip out and I've actually had these little mounting, the little stubs on the motherboard, or on the case. I've actually had those break off, and it just kind of takes that hole with it too, so you can't even have another screw in there. So be careful of that. If you're ever doing this, do not over tighten the screws. Once they're snug, they're good. Something to keep in mind. Man, this one here just really does not want to go in. I don't think that one's even lined up. That's kind of weird. Oh well, I'll look at that later. And I will be doing a Hackintosh hardware series for my videos on some of this hardware. The client did give me permission to do that. So I'm not. This isn't going to be the final build, because I will be taking the board out of here again, throwing it on my test bench and running some tests, and doing some stuff like that for my series as well. So look for that also the next coming days. I just love how much space there is in this case. I mean, I know you can't really see past this part up here. Not too much I can do about that. I'm already kind of stretching this camera to its limit in terms of its cable length. But there's so much. I still have enough space after the board ends here for my hand before these even start. So there's tons of space here. So there are plenty of cases out there that have been, I would say, less than pleasant to work with. But this case, there's just so much room. It's fantastic. But this is a pretty expensive case. I mean, I think this case is at least $150. And so, it's not just like, a $50 case. If you want a really nice case that's really nice to work in like this, maybe include some really nice big fans, things like that, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium for it. Alright, so all three of those are in. I think this is good enough, just for the purpose, for now. Actually, you know what? We'll try one more. Because I think now that I put those ones in the top, this one seems to have lined up a bit better. As predicted. Mighty Jack 73, thank you. I appreciate the feedback on the site. Feel free to post in the forums. Let's go ahead and get those forum posts up as I demolish my screwdriver. But okay, as you can see, the motherboard is now in the case. All the screws have been installed, and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's always awesome. Now, that's where I ask you guys, what do you want to do next? Do you want to jump right into the CPU? Personally, that gets my vote. Xeon versus i7. Xeon's more of a workstation chip. i7 is more of a consumer chip. Xeon is meant to be run at high frequencies for extended periods of time, whereas an i7 it's just more a consumer. Basically, you get what you pay for. If you don't need a Xeon, don't spend the money on a Xeon. You'll be fine with an i5 or an i7. But if you're running, say like a server or a workstation that really just needs to be up all the time, have really good stability, Xeon's the way to go for you. Yeah, i3s are great chips, especially the Ivy Bridge ones. They've gotten much faster. I mean, on a Geekbench, if you guys saw my budget build, that i3 gets about 8,000. My first generation Core i7 with 4 cores and 8 threads, which is double that of the i3, only gets about 1,000 more. So that shows how much it's evolved since the first generation of the hardware. My i7 now competes with like an i3. So that goes to show you. Will an i5 3570 bottleneck a GTX 680? Not too much, I wouldn't think. I mean, if you want to get the most out of your computer, I'd go with the i7, but for general everyday use and even like gaming, you should be fine. I don't think there'd be too much of a conflict there. Oh yeah, the 660, I believe it is. I would go with the 660 Ti because I know for a fact that one works, but I think all of the GTX 600 series are supported. Right in Mountain Lion. It's like baked into the OS because of the GPU, I want to say in the Retina. Maybe the iMac 2 uses a 600 series NVIDIA card, so there you go. Alright, but so I'm going to go ahead and I'll jump into the CPU, which we have over here. Here it is for the live viewers. Right here, 3930K, hopefully you can see that. Socket 2011. For the YouTube version, I'll go ahead and I'll zoom into this a little bit. Of course, when I say a little bit, I mean a lot of it. So there you go. We have the 3930K unlocked and unleashed. Basically, bred for overclocking, which is great. Like I said in the beginning, or maybe not the YouTube version, but I will be probably overclocking this to like 4.2-ish gigahertz. And as you can see here, I'll show the live viewers. This is a humongous CPU. This thing is crazy. If you didn't see it in my unboxing video, this is the biggest CPU I've ever seen. And that's because it's a socket 2011, which the number of the socket corresponds to the number of pins. So an 1155 is actually physically smaller than a 1366, which is physically smaller than a 2011, etc., etc. So go ahead and take this guy out here. Yeah, the 680 is kind of overkill unless you want to do a lot of like gaming and stuff. But just for everyday use, even some video editing, the 670 is fine, and it's like $100 cheaper. Alright, so here we have the CPU, and once again, if I can find my remote here, go ahead and zoom in on the YouTube version. Here we have the CPU. Hopefully you can get sort of like a scope for how big this thing is. I wish I had a processor here. Actually, you know what? I think I might. I'll be right back. Alright, so here for comparison, we have a Core i3. This is an 1155 right here. Here's a 2011. It just dwarfs it. Look at that. Here's for the live viewers. This is the i3, which is the 1155 socket. This is a socket 2011. You can see it just dwarfs it. I mean, like the actual CPU is as big as this whole plastic piece. So it's quite a bit bigger. But so once again for the YouTube version, there we go. So hopefully that found that little bit of information interesting. Go ahead and zoom out on the YouTube version here. Alright, and we'll set the i3 over here, just because. But so I'll go ahead and break out the iPhone again and take a swig of the Hackintosh juice. I've been using the i3 in my budget builds and for my Hackintosh hardware series. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and do it. I have to change this over to video real quick and flash on. So here we are inside the case again, and we'll be installing the CPU, and that involves this guy right here. And in order to do this, it's actually a pretty futuristic looking socket. There's a little handle like that. Go ahead and flip that down. And wow, there's actually two of them on here. I've never seen that before. That's very interesting. So hopefully you guys in the live stream can see that. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Wow, that thing is gargantuan. So as you can see, there's the socket. First 2011 one personally I've ever seen. And yeah, it's a monster, and it has two of those. There's one here and also one there. So very interesting stuff. But all we're going to be doing is simply, where did I put it? Take the CPU, throw it in the socket. So I'll be resuming that in a second. And so here, I'll go ahead and open this up for the live viewers. Right there. And look for those notches. I'll go and I'll get an iPhone video of this. And so the notches here. Alright, so actually it's going to go, oh wow, there's 4 notches. Oh yeah, so it goes like this. Alright. Okay, so now, here's the CPU. And you got to look a little close here, but there's actually 4 notches. We have one there, and 2 on the other side. And that corresponds to the notches that are here. There. So you know you're going to be installing it correctly. So, and when you're doing this, be careful not to touch the top of the surface. If you get your oil from the natural oil, not that anyone's gross or anything, but the natural oil from your fingers on there, it will kind of affect your cooling, and so you don't want that. So if possible, actually, you know what, I'm going to put the camera down for a second just so I don't do that. But once I have it in hand properly, then I'll resume the recording. And this is kind of tricky. They don't give you much space for the to put your fingers in there like the 1155 ones do. But I'll see if this will focus here. So here we have the processor in hand. Once again, being careful not to touch that top surface. There you go for the YouTube version, and here you go for the live viewers. And we're simply going to align those notches with those notches that I pointed out earlier. And actually what I'm going to do is take this the other way. So I'm going to do this. Actually, I'll do it this way. So hopefully you guys can get a better angle. So here we have the CPU one last time. And we'll try to go over here. Actually, I don't think that's right. I think these are different. I think it might actually go this way. Yep, so the notches, at least I think they are. It's kind of hard to tell, but it didn't seem that I wanted to go in the other way. But regardless, just make sure those notches line up and you'll be good. But so what we're going to do here is fold this guy down. It's actually kind of a complicated thing here. So I'm not sure which one has to go down first. I would think this one does. Okay, there you go. So yeah, you do kind of need 2 hands to do this. This is interesting stuff. I've never seen this socket. This is kind of weird. Let me get some video of this. Alright, now this is an interesting socket because to me it's kind of like driving a stick, like a car. You kind of have to push down on one while you push down on the other. So, it's kind of like a clutch kind of a system in a way. But because this guy here controls the latch that holds this down. So you have to push this one down a little bit before you can push this one down. So as you see, I didn't do that right, because this one has to be pushed down more in order for this to properly latch it. So it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but now at least you guys know what's going on. If you've never seen it before, it's interesting stuff. Pretty cool socket. Actually, yeah, this little guy has to come off as well. I was going to say, I was like, that does not look right. Alright, so now the CPU is in, and one last video here on the CPU on the iPhone. And that's what it should look like when it's all done. It will be kind of tight when you're pushing those down, that's normal. You're not going to go shattering anything, you're not going to break into your CPU. It should be tight, so there's that. So that was definitely interesting. I've never seen a socket 2011 before, and so the fact that it has those two on it is kind of interesting. I like it. Yeah, people are saying, or someone said GPU. Actually, no, I think I'm going to do the cooler just so dust and stuff doesn't get on the processor while we're waiting here. Go ahead and take off this back fan here. And the reason I'm going to take off this back fan is because the H80i requires, a radiator. And this big 200mm fan up here, it takes up like the whole top. So really the only place for it to go here is on the back. What case is this? It's the Corsair 600T Graphite edition, or Graphite something, maybe just Graphite series. But this is the white version, the Snow White, not the Disney character. Oh yeah, I'm already considering changing my case. For now I'm going to keep it just because I love it. But when it comes time to build my new system, I'm going to be changing my cases. And no, I am not selling my PowerMac G5 case. I love it. I'll use it for decoration before I'll sell it. I love it. But it just for my main machine, it just doesn't have like, the I/O options on the front that I would love it to have. The cooling in there isn't all that great at all because it's just not meant for the hardware that's in there. And so I feel that I wanted a better case, like, a more featured case, rather than just having it look like a Mac Pro case. I don't regret it at all, though. I love it. Yeah, there is no stock fans with these processors. Alright, so here's that 120mm fan that's now out. And I'll go ahead and bust out the H80i. I'll try to scoot this case up so we can get easier access to the cooler to unbox it. And this is where having that back cutout in the case really helps, because now, actually I'll go ahead and I'll tip this case up for the YouTube camera. As you can see, we now have full access to that bracket, so if we have to screw something in, we can hold it and do our work while the board's in the case. So that's pretty neat. Whoever came up with that should be paid $1 million and get a Nobel Peace Prize or something. Actually, for now, I'm just going to go ahead and change the live camera to the front because that's a horrible angle. What am I using for storage in this build? We have three 120GB solid-state drives. 2 of them will be going in a RAID 0, and we also have two 2TB Western Digital green drives. Alright, so this is open. I'll go ahead and I'll change this back. Hopefully you guys can see this alright. Oh, CPU door and CPU Moose are kicking. Moose is back there enjoying his dew, or his Hackintosh juice. Hackintosh dew. That could be one. And door, he's chilling. Alright, so in the box here, we have the, this is an AMD for a back plate. And here we have the Intel version. And this is pretty interesting. I don't know. I think this might go like on the front. I can't imagine this goes on the back of the case because it is pretty thick. So I think this goes on the back, standard back plate, and then this goes over it. And then, you have the actual cooler like inside of here. So, interesting stuff. Different than any other of the liquid coolers I've ever worked with. But like I said, this is the AMD one, and we don't need that, so that's going back in there. At least I assume it's the AMD one. AMD sockets always use weird stuff. I don't know. You can always tell it's an AMD if it's awkward. Alright, so also in the box here we have 2 120mm fans. These fans are banging because they're gray. The fins are gray. They're not like white or black like pretty much every other fan I've ever seen. So that's pretty neat stuff there. Like I said, we are given 2 of them, although I don't even think we'll be able to fit all the fans in this case, so he'll have some extra fans. here's the actual cooler itself. Go ahead and I'll zoom into this for the YouTube audience. So here we have the radiator. This screws into the case. Fan goes on top of that, blows out all the warm air. Here's the actual brick for the CPU. As you can see, we have that thermal paste pre-applied. Here we have, like the front of it, right there. If you get like an H100, that'll actually have a controller that can control the fan speed, so that's pretty neat. And so just to show the live audience, here's the CPU brick, thermal paste pre-applied, tubing to the radiator. So really nice unit here. And to those people that have never used a solution like this, you don't have to fill the liquid, you don't have to maintain it. I mean, it's really a good solution, very easy, very low maintenance, and they all offer very good cooling performance. In H60, not so much. In H80 is the middle ground, and as you'd expect, the H100 with its dual radiators, things like that, that's going to give you the best cooling. But how it stands up in terms of like compared to a full-on liquid cooling system, I could not personally tell you because I've never done that. Although I am looking into it for my next build. I'd like to have some liquid cooling, like some clear tubes with lime green like cooling fluid in a white case. I just think that'd be the greatest thing on earth. So we'll see. So now also included in here, and I recorded this in my H80i unboxing video, which I have not uploaded yet. I don't know what this is. This is like a little mini USB. And there's a header for it, and there's also like some fan pins like that. But I don't know what this would be used for. It's just a USB. I mean, what is this? I don't understand what this does. Is there like a USB port? Oh, yeah. See, look at that. That's interesting. I don't know what this is. There's like a mini USB on here. I know you probably can't see it all that well through the live viewers. I'll actually show on the YouTube version now. This is new to me, so if anyone knows, please feel free to tell me. Because as you can see here, there's actually a little like USB header. So I'm not sure what that does. I mean, it must send some kind of information, but I'm not sure what. Maybe like temperatures, maybe? Oh, I see. So it's like a fan controller. I see what it's... So yeah, this doesn't just control the one fan in the back of the radiator. At the back of the radiator, I don't know why I said it like that. But you can actually plug more fans into this, and you can control more fans. That's pretty neat. So as your CPU temperature increases, so do your fan speeds. That's pretty... Yeah, that's neat. That's nice. I honestly didn't know that this had that. That's banging. That's awesome. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll set this over by Moose. He'll be the guardian of the CPU cooler. Don't let me down. We have all the screws for the hardware, and we have all the data cables for the sensors and stuff, the controllers, and you can guard those too. Moose better not let me down. Can you post a link to the... Yeah, that's fine. I mean, unless it restricts you, I don't care. But if you're not allowed to by Justin.tv, then I don't think there's too much I can do about that. Alright, so hopefully that's a better view for the live viewers. What tips do I have for starting a YouTube channel and building a fan base? Just do what you love. I mean, don't be forced, or don't think that you're forced to record videos. If you're doing it and you're not having fun doing it, you're doing it wrong. Just be like Steve Jobs, you're holding it wrong. I mean, honestly, I would still do everything I do just the same if I didn't make $1 from it. I mean, that's how you get started. You just do it because you like to do it. And in time, if good work doesn't go unnoticed. So if other people enjoy what you do, then in time they'll come. But just don't expect it to happen overnight. Okay, so I think we're going to need the longer guys here. Right now I'm just picking out the screws that I need because this is compatible with every CPU socket. So they give you a bunch of extra screws that you end up not needing, so you have to sort out which ones you do and don't need. Okay, so here we have the 4 screws that we need. There we go. And before we do this, we're going to need a back plate. So I'll go ahead and I'll stand this case up. And I doubt, it's close. I'm going to do something risky, guys. I'm going to move this camera up. And like, if you weren't here from when I said this, the camera that's focusing here, the back cable where it actually goes into the camera is kind of weird. So if I move the camera the wrong way, it will disconnect. So if that happens, then you might lose some picture. So I'm going to take a chance here. Oh. Alright, so now you guys can see that. So hopefully we're still good. Alright, so I haven't had anyone say that, don't freak out saying that the stream is down, so I assume all is well. Alright, so now what you have to do is, hopefully you guys can see this, I'll show the YouTube audience here. This is the back bracket here, like that, and these actually move, like this, those move, so you have to just line them up just right with the, the back of the CPU here, or the back of the board rather. And so then once you do this, all we're going to do is put the cooler on, and then you have a screw that goes through it like that, and you just tighten it up, and then you're good to go. Okay. So this is always kind of a pain. Whoa, did I really just get that, like, that fast? Nah, that's too good to be true. I don't think that's quite right. I mean, it's close. Or maybe if, like, I just don't need this, but I don't understand how that would work. Just smash it through, it's fine. This is very weird because, like Mufasa, I remember I had to take off the CPU socket and put a different back bracket on, but there's no bracket here. It's just, what's holding the socket. There's no bracket. I mean, we can see how it goes because they are threaded. I mean, it just looks like I don't need the back bracket, but I've never not needed it. So this would be an interesting, weird case, like first time deal. Yeah, there's no bracket on there, but they give you one. And then for every liquid cooler I've ever installed, I've needed to use it. Which, that's what's kind of, weird to me here. Oh, really? You don't use it with the 79? That's interesting. I mean, I can live with that. That's awesome. But, alright, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's, obviously, in case you couldn't tell, this is my first time with the X79 platform. So if things are a little bit different, then, that's how you learn. Well, if that's the case, then maybe I should read the instructions. Because then I don't think these are needed because one side is longer, which I assume was needed to go all the way through the board and into the bracket. So hopefully you guys can see this. This is what I planned on using, and this is what I'm going to use. I really doubt you can see that there's much of a difference. But yeah, it looks like we're going to be going with these guys instead. I should sign computers? No, I don't think people would like that too much. Alright, so here's the screws I'm going to be using, as opposed to the screws that I was going to use. Hopefully, I'll try to put these here so you can see the difference as I drop one. But okay, so there's that screw, and then this one I just put down is one I will be using. You can see one side is shorter than the other, and that's because down here, I'm not going to be going through the motherboard to the other side and onto that bracket. So this screw, this side's the same, but that side is shorter. So to do this, all you're going to do is screw them on like so. Just screw them right into the socket, and the cooler gets placed on that. And actually, now that I think about it, maybe this should go below that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would. Actually, no, because this would have to go over. Yeah, this is right. Learn something new every day. Live fails. Live for it. Yeah, I haven't used VGA for about 2.5 years now. And I mean, you can, like, if your board has DVI and your monitor is VGA, you can just get an adapter and use VGA that way. But right off the board, VGA, I don't think ever works within OS 10. I just don't think it's, like, native to the OS. I mean, I can't say that with, 100% certainty. Maybe some boards are different. But every board that I've personally tested that has VGA on it just never works. So that's just, from my experience. Alright, so Moose, you did a good job guarding it. You will live to see another day. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this little plastic guard off, like that. And so now the thermal paste is, here now. So don't touch it. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't know exactly how this is going to go. Maybe I should read the instructions. Because there's no screws on this. So you just kind of be like freehand. So I think I should put this bracket on first. Maybe like that. Has anyone used this cooler? I can verify. Because yeah, this cooler doesn't have any anything to screw it into on the actual brick. So it'd be kind of freehand, I don't want to do that. Yeah, the tubes bend. I mean, they're somewhat flexible. Don't go crazy with them, but something smells what? I don't know. I lost it in the chat. Someone said something smells funny or something. I don't know. Something to do with smell. But yeah, so actually this does have to go on first. And actually, you know what I think I'll do? I'll just screw down the radiator first, because then that's just one less thing that I have to fool with. So here's the little plastic piece. Going to put that back on so the thermal paste stays nice and safe. There we go. Alright, so that's on. And so now what we'll do is we'll screw this radiator in. CPU door would never kill anybody. You live a lie if you think CPU door would ever harm a fly. That rhymed. That was pretty sweet. Alright, so here, now we need these long screws for the radiator. Show that to the live camera. And those go through, the back of the case and actually secure the radiator. Alright, yes, so that's much better. Thank you guys, that's awesome. Alright, so now we can put the brick on the CPU. Okay, so now I want to try to do this so the Corsair logo is, properly aligned. But see, that's going to put a decent amount of tension on those cables. Alright, so how does that look? I don't know how well you guys can see that. Get rid of that picture in the picture for you. Yeah, alright, I think that's how I'm going to do it. Alright, so what? Before I take the little plastic thing off of the actual brick, where's that bracket thingy? No. Where in the world would I put that? Does anyone see the bracket that sits on top of this thing? I spy with my little eye. Oh, derp, right up top. Alright, this guy goes right over top of it, and those must screw into it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Alright, so now I'm going to take that bracket in hand. Alright, that seems to be on just right. Yeah, the thing clicked right onto the actual cooler, like the brick, that little bracket thing. So yeah, that's in place just fine. Alright, once I get 2 of these down, I'll do a quick little iPhone video just to explain what went on. To those of you on the YouTube version, I cut the video because there was a live fail. This radiator, this is totally new to me, and I didn't do it quite right. So my chat room, props all you watching, helped me out. So I'm going to show you what we got going on in here. Let that focus. Alright, so here's what we're looking at. We have the CPU finally installed, and what screwed me up here was the radiator, this guy here. There's actually a fan behind it, and there's one here, so it's like both. Whereas I was just going to put the radiator itself, right to the back of the case. So as you see, there's a radiator and fan, tubing onto here. This little bracket that we saw earlier simply sits right over the top of this, and we use these thumb screws, which I have located right over here. And then all we do from there is we screw them on. Sorry for the hand cam right now. And yeah, I'm failing live again. It's kind of an awkward angle. There we go. But yeah, just screw those down. Once again, like just as I said earlier, you do not want to like over tighten these screws. That's how you break stuff. But when they're snug, just give it one last little like notch or wrench, I guess, on the screwdriver, and you'll be fine. And that's what's nice about these thumb screws that actually sit on here. They're threaded for Phillips too, so they're thumb screws to get them started, and then they're Phillips so you can get that nice tightness on them. Yeah, I did do opposite corner. I did these two, and the first one I did with the iPhone was this bottom corner one. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down with the screwdriver. Alright, just up until they're nice and snug. Alright, those are all nice and snug now, not over tightened, and those are good. So now the radiator is installed, hopefully, as you guys in the live chat can see. Alright, so what do you want to do now? Do you want to do the GPU? I'm kind of leaning towards that because this thing is gorgeous. And yes, I just call the hardware component gorgeous. People are saying RAM. Yeah, you know what, we'll do the RAM. Alright, I'll go ahead and I'll remove these little stickers on here. It actually, it's going to be pretty close, the memory with those RAM slots. Or the memory with the radiator up here. Alright, so, oh, that's interesting. These RAM slots, only one side, the little things on each side, only one of them actually goes down. Yeah, see this fan here, this is taking up a lot of space. Because, I mean, if you look at it, even without this second fan on it, there's not going to be too much room. Because, like I said, even without that second fan on it, it's like right here. It's actually, I think, covering this last RAM slot here. Let's see here. Yeah, so here let me get the memory. We have 4. We're not going to do all 8. So I mean, if you look in the case here, hopefully you guys can see it. We have blue, black, black, blue, black, blue. So I assume, let's see here. This blue one is 1, so I assume we fill the blue slots. Just the black ones? Yeah, the black doesn't look like it'll be a problem. It's just that last blue one. And I mean, there is a decent amount, like a gap between the bottom of the RAM and the top of the bottom of the radiator. There is a decent gap, but it's going to be close. Just because Vengeance Memory has pretty big heat spreaders on it. But busting out the Vengeance memory, use the Hackintosh juice knife to cut that. Yeah, see, Vengeance just uses humongo heat spreaders. So if you've never seen Vengeance memory, I'll go ahead and zoom into this on the YouTube version. Very good memory. And they do have a low profile version, but this just looks much better, I think. But so there's 8 gigabytes of RAM right there, which a couple years ago was just unthinkable. I mean, that's just insane to even have 1 gig of RAM total, and now we have 8 gigabyte DIMMs. 16 will probably be here before we know it. And so all I'm going to do to install this RAM is push it down into a RAM slot. Pretty easy if you've never done that. I'm going to show you guys what's what. To change the iPhone over to video mode. And actually, while that's doing its thing, I'm going to open up this box. Alright. So here we have all the memory slots. We have 4 on this side, 4 on this side. And what I was talking about with the radiator is, I mean, see, we have a decent amount of clearance there. I mean, it's not horrible. It may fit, but we'll be using the black slots, I think. So that shouldn't be a problem because the blue slot is the one that's kind of right underneath there, but the black slot looks like it should just be fine. So not to worry there. If I really need to later, like I said, I'm going to be taking most of this stuff out of the case anyway, so you know, I'll fix that later if I need to. But for now, this is just getting it together and making it boot. But so just going to take this and push down, much like I'm sure all of you guys have seen before. So there's 1. Here's 2. Yeah, Windows 8 is definitely better for touchscreens. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. I would never run it as my primary OS, though. I just like the classic desktop experience. And to me, OS X does that the best. And so, last stick of Vengeance going in for a total of 32 gigabytes. And fun fact, I've never ever had a stick of bad Vengeance. Every single stick I've ever used has been fine. So good quality control on Corsair's part. But yeah, the black slot fits just fine. And by the looks of it though, it will be a little bit tight if he wants to upgrade the blue. So maybe if he does get 32 more gigabytes of RAM and puts them in the blue slots, there is a chance that he'll have to put the radiator up top. And so I'm not sure how that would work. I don't know if there's enough room with like alongside that big 200mm fan that's in there, but that's for another day. But I mean, I think it'll be okay. It's just close. You know, I mean, if he really, really wanted to, just because RAM isn't all that expensive anymore, maybe he could sell this memory as used, take the loss of a couple bucks, and buy new DIMMs that are low profile, and those would all fit just fine. But yeah, I had no idea that that cooler would be that big. But regardless, all the memory is now installed. Actually, I wonder if he could maybe just keep this memory and get low profile sticks, because it's still Corsair Vengeance. It's still the same frequency, it's still DDR3. So I don't know if that would matter, if some are low profile and some aren't low profile. I don't know if there's actually a difference in the chips. That'd be a good question. I mean, it might not look as nice, but I mean, if you didn't want to take a loss of any money, you could probably do that. I imagine it's the same. But what are you guys thinking now? I'm thinking GPU. Yeah, people are saying GPU, so you know what? What is GPU? Alright, so for the live viewers, here's the box here. Here's the GTX 670 from Gigabyte. 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. The awesome WindForce cooling, and it's overclocked right out of the box. So we're going to get some awesome performance. Works right out of the box within OS X, so that's very cool. There's some more details on the WindForce cooling. And for the YouTube audience, zoom into the box a little. GTX 670, once again, WindForce, overclocked, side of the box. On the back details the WindForce cooling. By the time this video is online, this unboxing will probably also be on my channel, so if you want a more in-depth unboxing, go ahead and watch that. So ripping open the box here. Alright, and we need some Hackintosh juice real quick. I got the parts from Newegg. Alright, so here's all the instruction booklets and whatnot. Here we have a Molex to 6-pin and a Molex to 8-pin. You'll need these if your power supply doesn't have them. This one does, so we won't even be needing these, but they're always good to have around. I think I have like 3 or 4 of these just laying around for if I ever need them. So we'll just leave those in the box. And here's the actual GPU itself. Putting the box back there. And fashink. That's supposed to be like a nice clean metal noise or something. But here we go. Here's the card. I'll show it to the YouTube audience. There's the back PCB. And yes, this has a little guard on it, so I'm not touching the actual pins. Don't worry. Go ahead and I'll zoom into this. So there's that wind force cooling right off the bat. You got 3 fans on this thing. They look awesome. They work awesome from what I've read online. On the back here, or sorry, on the front here, we have the heat pipes. You can see right there, spreading that heat out. That's a nice shot of the card. You can see all the cooling and like all the heat sinks and spreaders and pipes and stuff that go into it. On the back here, we have 2 DVI, an HDMI, and a DisplayPort, as well as a nice little grill up there for cooling. And here's where you would connect to it like an SLI bridge if you want to have 2 or 3. Maybe 4 of these. I don't know if it supports quad SLI, but that'd be very expensive. So there you go. Show the live viewers the 3 fans on the card. Very nice. Get the nice view of the cooling. And yes, also to the YouTube audience, here's the 2 power connectors. We have an 8-pin and a 6-pin. You need both for this card. I think this card requires a 450 watt, or wait, no, maybe it was like 550, 500, or 450. One of those 3. So I don't have the exact requirements on the tip of my tongue right now, but it's something in that ballpark. So I would say 750 watt like we have should be okay for this card and the rest of your system. Or if you just want to go all out like a kilowatt just for tons of upgradability, you can go that route as well. But there's the card, and so I'm going to go ahead and place this on the table for now because we have to take out these gates for the PCI. So I assume it's going to use these top 2. How much was the card? I think it's like 300. Right around there. Yeah, the GTX 680 I think is 400. And I assume, I don't know the exact tech specs of the card because I've never used a 680 or a 670 for that matter. But the 680 for that extra $100 that it does cost, I'm not sure how much more performance you'll get with that. So I mean, I assume most people will be okay with the 670. But maybe like the 680 has more CUDA cores. I'm sure it has something that makes it worth the extra $100. But I don't know exactly what. Alright, so if you've never installed the GPU before, this is a pretty easy process. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off this little guard here. And now the pins are exposed. And so let me go ahead and before I install it, just make sure I took out the correct gates. Ah, see, I took out the wrong 2. There's one below. Yeah, the top gate is not used in this for this board. Radeon cards aren't bad. I mean, like my 6850 that I use, it works right out of the box. Like it's just perfect. Not all cards are like that though. And for my next build, I will be going with an NVidia card because they're just more compatible. And overall, I think they just offer the best performance. And I really wanted to start using Premiere and After Effects and stuff, and so NVIDIA is all the way for those kind of applications. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bust out the camera now, and we'll go get some footage. Some nice close-ups. Alright, so here we have the PCI slots. Here we have the 670 in hand. And all we're going to do is line up these pins here. Go ahead and see if this can focus. Line those pins up right with the slot. We're going to use that top blue slot. And so all we're going to do is line this puppy up I apologize if I'm in the way of the live stream, but only temporary. Actually, what's going on here? It's like extremely close. I think these little blue things are in the way. Yeah, that's all it was. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to line up the card here, like so. And now, just push down, like that, and the card will be seated into place. And now, just take your screws and screw it right back in. And from there, all you do is you just plug in the power connectors, and you're good. So installing GPU, not a hard process at all. You want to be a little careful, but other than that, you know, not a big deal. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love all the space that we have to work with this case. It's awesome. I mean, I don't feel like cramped at all. I have just so much space to work. It's great. Even this card being as humongous as it is, there's still, I can fit like my hand between, you know, where the card ends, which is like here, and then here, where the hard drive cages and everything start. Can you use old parts in a Hackintosh? How old? I mean, I use a 2.5-year-old i7. That works fine. But if you're talking like Core 2 Quad and Core 2 Duo, I've heard of it working, but I would probably stick to Snow Leopard for those. If you want Mountain Lion and stuff, I would definitely recommend new components. Not saying that it's not possible, but it probably wouldn't be worth your time. Alright, so now GPU's in. What would you guys like to do next? Let's see here. We have a wireless card if you want to stick with the PCI thing. We have the power supply. We have a solid-state drive. And I'm not going to be installing all 3 of those drives now. I'll probably just do one. SSD. Alright, so we have, I think, 3 votes for the SSD. So right off the bat, I'm just going to go ahead and go with that. So showing this off to the live viewers here. We have 120 gigabyte 330 series solid-state drive. Very nice drive. I use the same drive in my main system, and it works just fine. Where's my remote here? For the YouTube audience, there you go. Nice close-up of the box. 330 series, 120 gigabytes. I think the read and write speeds are around 450 symmetrical, maybe 500 megabits per second. So there's that. And so, regardless, I'm going to bust out the knife here. Break that ever so satisfying factory seal. And inside of a box, we have a box. And now, inside of another box, we have the actual drive. So here's the 330 series, 120 gig drive. There you go. Just go and set that there. Inside here is just a Speed Demon sticker, where I would never ever put this on my case. I think it's kind of fruity, to be honest. But I would never put that on anything, actually, especially not my car. I think I would get mocked extremely bad if I put that on my car. But whatever. Here we have a SATA cable. We also get a SATA to Molex power adapter in case we need it. For this build we won't. And we also get some mounting screws. And what's nice, which once again we don't need in this build, but they even give you a 2.5 to 3.5 inch converter, which are always nice to have because not all cases have them like baked right into the slots. But all this stuff I don't need except the drive and the SATA cable. So there's that. Am I going to give away the Hackintosh? No. That'd be a pretty sweet giveaway, but not today. Alright, so all we're going to do for this is we have the power drive cage right here. Take this guy out. And on the live stream, if you can see it, we have 4 little holes in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the YouTube audience, zoom in on this. You should be able to see him no problem. I love my camera. See those like 4 off-centered holes right there? The drive is simply just going to be screwed into those, and right into the computer. So pretty easy stuff, pretty straightforward. And so we'll go ahead and we'll rip this guy, rip this guy. Actually, I think I put the screws that I need back in the box too. Might need those. These guys. There's two sets of screws in there. There's ones that are beefy and ones that are not so beefy. So I assume the not so beefy ones actually go into the drive, and then the beefy ones are if you don't have these nice toolless drives. So let's see here. These look a little small. Actually, no, that works. Yep. So on the live stream, go ahead and we'll do that. And you have the little hole on the bottom of the drive. You guys can probably see that as it is on the YouTube version. Not the screw, but all you do is simply screw it in. It's nothing too amazing. I wish my screwdriver was magnetic. That would make my life so much easier. But it is unfortunately not magnetic. There has to be a better way to do this. Yeah, I would never bring in a drill here for a screw this big. That's just bad news waiting to happen. Yeah, like if there weren't enough live fails already, that would definitely result in about 4 times the amount, I would feel. Alright, down to the last screw here. Alright, so now that I have 3 solid-state drives, so we basically do this process 3 times, which is why, for the purpose of this show, I'm only going to do 1, because it'd be very repetitive. Alright, so now, I guess I'll get some footage of this just to say I did. But it's nothing too remarkable here. Here we have the Intel drive mounted to the bracket, or not really the bracket, but the drive bay, I'll say. And all you do is simply slide that guy in, and just like that, locked into place. So toolless cases have come a long way. That's awesome. That's so simple to get both in and out of here. All you do to get it out is push them together, and now it locks into place. Very good design, Corsair. Things like that is why this case costs $150, but it's worth it. Mountain line supports Sandy Bridge. Yeah. Alright, so now we have a wireless card, we have a solid-state drive, we have a power supply, and we have a hard drive. Actually, I'm probably not going to do the hard drives just because it's basically the same thing. It won't be as long, though, as complicated, because these guys that are actually on the bay here, those are all meant to be toolless. There's not even any screws needed. All you do is bend it, and then like on the side of every hard drive, there's 4 holes, one for each kind of corner, I guess you would say. And those simply just go in those holes, and it's just mounted to it, and you just plop it in. So really nice process, nothing too crazy there. Alright. I think I'm going to do the wireless card, just because. And here we have the wireless card, right here. And so we use the Hackintosh juice knife. Now, if you didn't catch it at the beginning, this card works right out of the box in OS X. There's absolutely no problems at all with it. I mean, you just plop it in the PCI slot, and it works just as it should. It recognizes it as an airport card, so you can control it right from the menu bar up in OS X. Very nice, very compatible solution. Plug and play is always nice. And it seems to me that more and more Hackintosh components are getting to be to that point. Even this GPU, it should just work. This card should just work. So Hackintosh has definitely picked up some steam in the last couple of years because of how compatible it's gotten and how stable it's gotten. Even my system, I've been running mine for 2.5 years now, and it's been great. I do not regret it any day ever. So definitely a very reliable solution. So here we have the card in hand. Go ahead and break that little seal. Why are we using wireless? I don't know. It's not my computer. It's always good though. I mean, if you take your desktop somewhere, like I've had that happen where I took my desktop computer like between my parents' house and here. And back in the day, I didn't have an Ethernet cable in my room. We hadn't run one, so it was just a lot easier this way. So, I mean, I could use Ethernet here, or like when I was at college, I would use Ethernet, but then when I'd go home, I could just use wireless. So it really depends on your needs. Not everyone needs wireless, but it's a nice option to have, even in a desktop. But yeah, the Ethernet will work on this board. There shouldn't be any problems with that. And so, I'll go ahead and grab the iPhone here. So here we have the motherboard, and here we have the wireless card. This is the TP-Link TL-WDN4800, once again to the live viewers over here. And much like the GPU, it's very simple. We're going to be using this bottom PCI 1X slot. We could use these, like if your board doesn't have this, or in my case there's another one, but it's covered by the GPU up here. You can just use these slots. It's all the same. So I mean that's I've used that in the past with this very card, works just fine. And so, much like the GPU, we're just going to simply line up little pins down there. Make sure it's lined down up here, and just push straight down. And now you've installed it. All we're going to do is put this screw back, and you're good to go. So, wireless card, very easy to install, and offers lots of functionality if it fits your, I guess, needs or your lifestyle. Wherever you have your computer, if you want to have wireless, very simple. Alright, we're getting down to it. We have the power supply still. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. We have the power supply. Oh, we also have an optical drive. We have that Blu-ray drive. I think for now I'm just going to leave this fan off just because I don't plan to use this system very much at all until I take it. I'm going to take this whole thing apart again tonight, do some videos on it on my test bench, and then I'm going to do it all tomorrow. So it's going to look a lot nicer. But for the purpose of this stream, I don't need the second fan on there yet. Alright, so we have 2 votes for power supply, one vote for optical drive. Well, I mean, in my other build, if you watch that one, I did the PSU first in that one. And that's because it wasn't modular. Also, I didn't have very much room in that case. This case, however, there's tons of room, there's tons of places to route cables. So I'm really not that worried about it. This is a good example of a case where you don't have to do the power supply first because it won't be that big of a pain to get everything routed nicely. Whereas the other case, I remember it was because up top, actually you know what, I'll go ahead and I'll show this on the iPhone. And this is something you definitely want to look out for if you're building a computer for yourself and you really want to pay attention to your cable management. Your power supply is going to be down here, or at least in most cases, and in most boards, the CPU power pin is all the way up here, which I think is a stupid design, but I guess it makes sense, it's right next to the processor. But make sure your case up here has some holes in the back. As you can see, I have some there, I have some behind this fan, I have all of these guys over here. Some cases don't have any space open up here. Most likely if you spend less than like 50 bucks on a case, you will not have those nice features. So when you go to route the cable up here, there's simply just no way to tuck it behind and make it look nice. So in this case, I'm using a modular power supply. I can just route it behind one here, route it behind the motherboard, have it pop out up here, and just plug right in. So that's something you want to keep in mind. If you really want to watch your cable management, then think of that stuff. Before you put the board in, if there's only like one way that you can get that cable up, and then like without your motherboard covering it, then you want to do that first, and then put the board on, and then that cable will still be exposed. I hope this whole thing made some sense to you, but I think it was the Ivy Bridge build that I did that for, so that's on my channel. Go ahead and watch that and you'll see what I'm talking about. I love my chat room. Anyway, okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll move on. We'll do the, I guess we'll do the power supply next. I mean, the optical drive, you really just slap that thing in. It's really not hard at all. And actually, I'm going to move all these out of the way. And we'll slide the case up a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better when I actually unbox the power supply. At least the live audience. I'll try to show off everything to the YouTube version as much as I can, but it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, make sure that's all well and good. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I don't want to move that camera if I can avoid it. But so we're going to go ahead and tear open this power supply. When will GTX 700 series be released? If I worked at NVidia, I probably still wouldn't be able to tell you due to like a NDA or something, just wouldn't be able to tell you, but I have no idea. I wish I could tell you. I mean, I wouldn't imagine it would be too long from now, probably sometime this year. But as far as whether it's next month or in November, I have no idea. Alright, cranking open the power supply. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of, graphics and gaming stuff done this year. Not even just in terms of like desktop PCs. But we have that Ouya, that NVidia, like little, or not NVIDIA, that Android-based gaming console. We have that, oh boy, what is that called? That NVIDIA one? I think it starts with a P, doesn't it? Or maybe it's Grid, I don't know, something like that. But whatever that thing is. There's talks of a PlayStation 4. Actually, the announcement is this month, February 20th. So, I mean, there's going to be tons of, gamings and graphics and stuff like that this year. So, pretty interesting stuff. If you're a gamer, 2013 is going to be an awesome year for you on both, the desktop and, portable. Alright, so we have some, Corsair warranty information stuff that no one really cares about. First thing out, we have the power cable. It's, awesome. It's 3-prong. It's crazy, I know. Put that off to the side for now. Corsair's including their bags again. I was hoping that they stopped doing that. Or maybe I just got like a rare one that they didn't bag. But if you see my Ivy Bridge build, Corsair always includes these little bags on their power supply. No one knows why. No one knows, for whatever they're used for. But that one time, I didn't get a bag and I was flipping out. But this is a different series, so who knows. But here we have a nice little bag. This contains all of our cables. So here. And if you get a power supply that's not modular, you're not going to get this. Everything's just going to be attached to the actual power supply unit. But here we have a PCI pin. Here, actually, I'll go ahead and I'll zoom into this on the YouTube version. And I'll try to show it to the live version simultaneously here, as good as I can. But here we have a 6-pin or 8-pin, whichever you pick. It's like, a little, I'll try to, there we go. You see that a little bit better on a white background. But here then we have some Molex adapters for, some older components. Here we have another PCI 6 or 8-pin. They give you tons of cables with these, so that's what's really great about modular. Not only are they not connected and it's much easier to manage your cables and stuff, but they also give you many more options than a traditional power supply. At least it appears that way. Maybe they do give you the same amount, but I always get a plethora of cables, and whenever I use a modular power supply, I have a bunch left over. So they also give you some CPU ties and some screws for if you screw this into the back of the case here. And now here's the power supply itself, of course, in the Corsair bag. Yeah, I mean, the bags could be good. Like, say for example, after your build is done, you have like a CPU bracket like we have, or an extra fan, or all your screws. I guess it'd be good to store all your finished parts left over in there, but I don't know. Depends on you, I guess. Alright, so then here's the actual unit itself. So zoom into this for the YouTube audience. So you see right here, sorry for the arm cam on the live viewers, HX750, fully modular power supply. That's what all this stuff is up top. That's where you plug all those cables into if you need them. That's the beauty of a modular power supply. Show that to the live audience, who I'm sure of which have pretty much all seen one of these by this point, but there you go. Corsair makes awesome power supplies. Rosewell does too, but I think Corsair is my favorite. But then there's the back, nice big ol' grill here for cooling. Power on and off switch, show that to the YouTube audience. And then there's your power cord, where you plug that in. So pretty simple stuff. And so this in the case, slide the case back down. I don't want to just slide it, I'll actually pick it up. Like so. Move all these little power cables and such. Stuff is sliding. Alright, I'm going to grab my iPhone. Alright, catch you later, man. Thanks for watching. Zanu Intel, I think that's how you say your name. You watch, I think, pretty much every one of my streams, so that's always awesome. Sorry I'm still zoomed in on the YouTube version. There we go. Alright, but so Getting into this, here we have the power supply. Like I said, this is going to be mounted in the bottom of the case here, and so hopefully you guys can see this. A little dark, but all we're going to do is make sure this is lined up correctly. Probably kind of important. Actually, you know what? It's kind of a pain to do with one hand. There we go. Alright, so now we'll get some better footage here. So now as you can see, that's nice and flush. If you look at the back, there's the blue snowball. If you look at the back, it's very simple to just screw that in. And from here, you can just plug in all your cables and such and, you know, wrap them throughout the rest of the case. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to tilt this case a little bit so I can get these screws going. And I'm just going to do 2 of these right now because I will be taking this power supply out. The power supply that I use for my budget build isn't enough for this build. So when I take all this apart tonight and put it on the test bench, I'll have to take the power supply as well. So that's the reason for that. And 2 screws will be more than enough to hold it for now. So why do more work than you have to? Alright. So now the power supply is in. And I'm not going to worry too much about cables right now. I will undo them and kind of like get them where they need to go. This stuff, however, extremely tasty. If you haven't tried this, no, don't eat that. Crazy kids. Regardless, so here we have the we have a 24 pin as well as a 2 4-pin or an 8-pin. I think that's 2 4s. Yeah, these newer ones like break apart. It's pretty neat. I know you can't really see it all that well, but I like it a lot. But yeah, we will be needing both of these, as this is a 130 watt CPU. But see, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about now if you've never built this system before, in terms of what I'm talking about with cable management and everything. So here we are in the case, and here we have the cables from the power supply. And this 24 pin, say we're going to plug that, you know, right in there. And then you have this guy going all the way up here. So now if those cables are plugged in and you stand back, that does not look good. That looks horrible. So what you want to do is take your cables here and route them, you know, behind, so they run behind the motherboard so you don't see it. And then say, for example, the 24 pin, if we route it down here, we can have it pop out of here and just connect right into here. And it looks much, much cleaner that way. So that's always good to do. Same thing for the 6-pin and any other cables you need, whether they're SATA cables for your hard drives or your optical bays or, you know, anything like that. It's always good to try to hide as many cables as possible. So that's if you're new to building a computer and you weren't really sure what I was talking about, you know, running cables all these different places. It kind of looks like a snake, but then that's what I'm talking about. So good stuff to know. CPU fridge. My fridge is kind of empty. I need some food. Regardless, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll wrap this guy down. And it's not going to be great because, like I said, I'm going to be taking this thing apart anyway. So it will be enough to get by and look somewhat presentable. It won't be great. I'll post finished pictures of the build to my Twitter account. So watch out for that. Yeah, so that's this is definitely not the way I would do it, but just for the purpose of, you know, the stream, it's good enough. Alright, I'm not even going to plug this one in, this 24. I'm just going to route it up and out of the way, because now we have to do these guys here for, like, you know, the front panel switches and stuff. And so I'll get some more footage of this because these are really hard to see. Alright, so here we have all these different cables. Whenever you get a case, you're going to have a bunch of stuff like this, as long as you have any panel or any like ports or something on the front of your case, which obviously you're going to. You will have some things that look like this. This is what makes your power switch work. These are what makes all those LEDs, those USB ports on the front. As you can see, they're actually all labeled. We have this one, we have power switch, power LED, reset switch, etc. We have USB headers, and we also have one for audio, which I believe, yeah, is this one. And that'll do like your line in and out, which is on the front of this case. So pretty neat stuff there. And those all get plugged in usually at the bottom of your motherboard. Some may be different, but for the most part, it's at the bottom. And that's going to be this guy right here. And as you can see there, they're actually not labeled, And that's what that one little adapter I got earlier, that's what that was for. That sits on here, and from there it's labeled on the side and tells you what needs to go where. As far as the USB headers go, those are those little blue slots right there. So we can have 3 USB headers there. I want to say that might be FireWire. No, that's not FireWire. I don't really know what that is right now off the top of my head, but just read on your motherboard. It'll actually show you what each one of those is, and you'll be good from there. Yeah, so then I'll go ahead and I'll plug one of these in. I'm not going to do all of them, and actually I should get that thingy-majiggy if I can find what I did with said thingy-majiggy. But here we are, right here. So that's where this guy comes in handy. And I'll show this on my camcorder. Zoom into this guy. And you might be able to read it. It's going to be kind of close though. And you can kind of make it out, but that actually tells you what needs to go where. That little black is writing, and so it'll tell you which one is the power switch, which one is the power LED, things like that. So I'll show that to the webcam here. Probably won't focus nearly as well, but there's that. So pretty sweet. Alright, that goes on there very easily. And now, one more shot on the iPhone. Actually, you know what? It might be a good idea to just leave that off for now. And see, I don't know how in the heck I'm gonna record this. It's gonna be extreme. I don't know if I'll be able to. Yeah, I don't know, but here's a closer up view where it says power, reset, things like that. And so these cables here are what gets put right on here on these little pins here. So now I would love to record this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, because while it's in here I can't see what it says, and so I don't want to plug them in the wrong places or have to spend 20 minutes on something that should take 2 seconds. So I think I'm just going to do it. But I'll try to show it up here as good as I can. Here's hard drive LED. So on here, just look for hard drive LED and simply put them on the pins. And you know what? I'll zoom in and I'll do another one on the YouTube version. This is probably like one of the dumbest things though. I wish they would really redesign how this stuff is done. I just think it could be done so much easier. But so as you can see, well, you maybe not be able to see, but this next one here says power ground. So that's going to be the power switch. So just look for the little one that says power switch on it and simply just slide it onto those pins. And now your front power switch will work. And basically all it does is it just creates a circuit between those 2 pins. And I mean, you could even, anything metal, say for example at the end of a screwdriver, if you take a screwdriver and you touch those 2 pins at the same time, your system will turn on. That's all that switch does. It just completes that circuit. So little things that are interesting to know. So then reset switch, same thing, pretty straightforward from this point on. So there's reset switch, and now power LED plus. So there's the positive lead, and then here's the negative lead. So I know on the YouTube audience, not the best angle, but pretty close to as good as it's going to get, as long as it's just me doing this stuff. Would be nice to have a camera person, but there you go. And so now once that's done, all you do is simply just put this on those little pins, and you're going to be good to go. So hopefully that helped you guys if you've never done that before. So there we go. Now, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and throw these on the pins. There we go. And now, really quick, I'll just do a USB header. And that's all I'm going to do. Because everything from there, for all the front panel cables, is pretty much the same. Alright, so then here's a USB header. Pay attention to the pins on it, because as you can see, one of them is not an actual pin, it's just a dead space, and you have to correspond it to here. On every header there's a dead space as well. You can see that in the lower right there's not actually a pin there. That's where that has to go. So make sure you have it right, and then once you have it right, all you do is simply push down, and now some of your front panel switches will work. You just do that until all your USB cables are plugged in, and you're good to go. Same thing with the front panel. The front one's a little bit different. It's actually not the pin on the edge that's the dead pin, but it's the pin next to that that's the dead one. So make sure you line that up right. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there pushing, and it's not going to go in, and then you're just going to bend your pins, and it gets horrible. So be sure you pay attention to that. So now, I think my iPad turned off. Let's see here. I have to go back into the chat. How long is the streaming going on? A while. There's your answer. 2 hours, 40 minutes. A lot of that's probably going to be edited out, though, just because probably at least 20 minutes or so was that the radiator fail. So that'll all be edited out. A few things here and there, but for the majority of it, most of it will be in there. So I would say anywhere between like half an hour to like 40 minutes or so will be edited out totally. So we're about right on schedule. Some people hate long videos like this, and that's why I started my Hackintosh hardware series, because some people want to see what works and what doesn't, and how to build a computer, but they don't want to sit there for 2 hours. So that's why like the budget build, it's only like 5 or 10 minutes. So much better there. But for people that like long videos, maybe you're doing some work and you just want something in the background and also kind of learn something at the same time, that's the video for you guys. And apparently people like these kind of videos because they get tons of views. So maybe it's your first time building a computer and you just want to know how to do it, or you just have time to kill and want to listen to something, then you're the target demographic for this kind of a video. But people that really don't care for the length of the video. Alright, so now I guess I'll do the optical drive. I'll try to do this as best as I can to try to get it in both the live and the recorded, but it's really not a hard process at all. I think what I'll do is I'll stand this computer up. And the thing got pretty heavy pretty fast. Not horrible, I mean it's not like overbearing, but Mufasa was a heavy computer. That thing was crazy. That thing must have been 60 pounds. It was really heavy. Yeah, so the optical drive is down here. By the way, one thing about this case I really like, I don't think I've showed it, but if you click down at the top here, that's this end. This whole thing comes off, and then that way you can wash all the dust and stuff, or mount a whole new fan up here. So you know that's not the best view for the YouTube feed, but there's that. I'll try to show this to the live audience, but that whole thing comes out. You can see the fan there. That's pretty neat. I really like that a lot. And the same thing does on the front too. You can actually click out the front here. I think it's stuck. There we go, like that, and very easy to put back. So pretty neat stuff coming from Corsair. I really like this case a lot. You just watched Lion King. Did you see Mufasa? Classic. All right, so I'm going to take the Hackintosh juice knife and we'll cut this open like so. I hate when opening up optical drives, because they always come in just a wad of bubble wrap with tape all around it. You can't even see the tape, but you get to pop the bubble wrap though. Bubble wrap is amazing. It's just so fun. I'm going to go ahead and I'll switch to the picture-in-the-picture for the live chat, or the live viewers rather. Alright, so off with that. I love bubble wrap except for when it comes wrapped in encasing in an optical drive. Alright, so now on the front of this case we have to take out the little placeholder up here. So I'm not exactly sure how that's done on this case. It looks like it's done internally, but let's see. Yeah, I can feel it. There's like little things that you have to push like that. So every case is a little bit different, but that's what's going to come out. And now as you can see, it's open. And if this case is like the rest, or this drive up here is like the rest of the case, which I assume it is, this should all be toolless. So on the side of every optical drive, there's little holes. I'll zoom into this for you guys. You can see them right there, little holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and for the live viewers, like that. And older cases, you actually had to take a screw and drive it in there. But now with all these toolless cases, they basically do it for you. There's just like a little plastic lever, and when you push it, little pins just go in there, and it holds it in place. So they work very well. So we'll see if we can do this correctly. There's some front panel cables up here that are causing some issues. There we go. Alright, so actually I'm going to go ahead and show this on the iPhone here, get up close and personal. And sorry if it's kind of like a camera and a camera for the live audience, but as you can see now, those holes are actually lined up. And you can kind of see it. There you go, like that. So they're lined up, and now this little thing here says push. Although it doesn't seem to want to go in. And all of these little things tend to, take a little bit to figure out how exactly they work. But actually, yeah, that's actually secured in place. As I push on it, it's not going anywhere. So it's actually locked into place. And I think to release it is when you push down and it'll release. Yeah, like that. So, but as long as you do this, you actually hear it snap into place. And now you're good to go. So very easy on Corsair's end. That's a very good mechanism. Me too. I love this case. This case is freaking awesome. I really, really would love to have this case for my own build. It's really nice. But I don't think I'll take the time now to route the cable up to the optical drive, just because I'm not even going to be using it. At least not yet. But yeah, it's just the same thing really. You just run the cables. You would need a SATA cable and then a power cable. Very easy. Just plug those in the power supply. SATA cable goes to the motherboard, and you're good to go. And that's actually what I'll do. I think for the final thing is I'll route a SATA cable to the motherboard. Very simple to do, but I'm sure someone out there somewhere wants to see it done. So go ahead and do that. Actually, there's these little RAM slot stickers on the front of the case. Good stuff. Okay, so now here's what we do. And now I just had the SATA, there we go. This is a SATA cable that came with the Intel drive. Pretty standard stuff. And now if you're using a SATA drive, I'll go ahead and or a solid state drive. I'll zoom into this on the iPhone in just a second. You're going to want to make sure you use a SATA 3 or 6 gigabit per second SATA port. Otherwise you won't get the full speed out of your solid state drive. It's like driving a Ferrari with square tires, I don't know. But it's going to be a huge bottleneck for you. You're not going to get the full speed out of it. It's like driving a Ferrari in a school zone. There you go. You have all that potential under the hood, but then you have something slowing it down. So there you go. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and plug the SATA cable into the actual hard drive, or rather solid state drive in this case. And SATA only goes one way. You'll notice there's like a little line and then it arcs down. That only goes one way, so make sure you do it right. Most often than not, this little lever on the top of the SATA cable faces up. So you can use that as kind of a guide. And now I'm going to route this down through this hard drive bay. Once again, I'll tidy all this stuff up later. I'm going to zoom out of this real quick. And for the live audience, I'm going to remove that picture in a picture because it's kind of in the way. There we go. And now, so you just take the cable, route it down through. Obviously, this isn't the final product. This is not how I would do it for a finished build, but just to get it out of the way for now. Do that. And now I'll bust out the trusty iPhone one last time here. And we'll record. So here's the SATA cable. Once again, I'll go ahead and I'll show off that little arc that it has. It's not really an arc, but there you go. You can see it there. And now, if you look on your motherboard, I think it is different for some motherboards, but basically the standard is, at least for most boards, blue is SATA 2, and then white is SATA 3. So for a solid state drive, you want to go with the white one because, well, it's faster. It's the Ferrari on an airport runway and not a school zone. So we'll take, yeah, this power cable needs to go. And so here is the SATA cable. Once again, I'm going to have this little silver piece, that little clip upwards. And there is SATA ports up there, but you can't really see those behind the GPU, so we'll just go with this for now. Should work just fine. And, well, there you go. It's simple as that. And for every drive you have, you'll have to do that. So, say for example, all my solid-state drives, all three, will take up these three and I'll have 2 hard drives here. So we're going to have a total of 5 SATA cables plugged in. So we'll have 3 in the blue, or 3 in the white rather, and then 2 in the blue. So there you go. And honestly, I think that's about all I'm going to do. For the most part, the computer is done. Of course, we do have to plug in the GPU power cables, but that's as simple as taking one of those millions of cables that were included with the power supply, like this, one of those 6 or 8 pins right here, and so we can use one 8 and one 6, and that's what's nice about these. If you don't want to use all 8, this last one is removable and you only have 6, but if you want to use all 8, you just plug that guy in there and you plug this guy into the back of the power supply and you're good to go. Other than that, the system will boot up just fine. You want to make sure you plug all of your case fans in, but you know, the main majority of the computer is fully functional at this point. So just make sure all your power cables are plugged in, and that's about it. Do you plug the fans into the motherboard or the power supply? You plug them into the motherboard. There's a bunch of fan headers on the motherboard. And actually, you know what? I'll just show you guys that really quick. What a fan header looks like. They're just little white 3 or 4 pin headers. Let's see here. So here we are inside the case, and those 2 little guys back here, those right there are fan headers. So all you would do, you know, I'll just plug one in for you guys. This is a 3-pin right here, but you can plug a 3-pin into a 4-pin. You just won't have the control from, you know, when your CPU gets revved up and your temperatures go up, it'll automatically make it spin faster. The 3 pins don't have that. So all you do is, you can see here there's like a little notch in there. That corresponds to that little notch there. So, and it's the same for a 4-pin. I'm sorry if I'm like really in the way of the live viewers. This will only take a second once I can do it. But yeah, once you're on there, you just simply push it straight down, and now that fan will work. So it's very simple to plug in your case fans. But what's nice about this CPU cooler is that this actually has like a fan controller on it, as does this case. That's what this little knob up here is. That's actually a fan controller. So you can plug fans into that fan controller and, you know, tweak them that way. So it's pretty neat. But on here, I can't seem to find where those plugins are. I'm really not seeing them. But then again, maybe they're just blocked. That's what they must be on this end here. I'll have to rotate this little CPU thing. I'll have to rotate it like 90 degrees to reveal them. But I think that's about it for the live build. It looks like everything is basically in order. But like I said, I will be taking this thing apart anyway, so I don't want to get it like all finished looking perfect just to tear it apart again. How long does it take before I post the video? It's probably going to be a couple days, because not only do I have to go in and within this like 3-hour video and find the parts that I want to edit out. So basically it's going to take, alone, like without making any edits, if I just wanted to watch through it, 3 hours. But then I have to edit the parts out, go back, make sure they're seamless. So it's going to take probably 5 or 6 hours to edit this clip. And then to export it, it's probably going to take an additional, if I use compressor and compress the size down while it's exporting, that's going to take probably like 10 hours to export, especially at 1080p. It's going to be a couple days, but don't worry, I have unboxing videos and stuff all queued up ready to go just about every day next week. I have unboxings of like 3 more of components I used in this build. I think I also have another video queued up, so I have content coming, but for this video to be on my YouTube channel is going to take a couple days, and especially that's if I don't have school or anything, which of course I do. I have school and I have work, so I'm going to have to find time between those to actually edit it down. I'll probably let it export while I sleep, and the next morning it's ready, I'll just have it uploaded. But I would say within a week, but I can't tell you exactly at this point. But I'll continue to live stream for a little bit here and answer some questions, but for the YouTube version, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this really long video helped you. Maybe if you're looking into a socket 2011 CPU for your motherboard, an X79 motherboard, this is kind of going to show you what you have to expect. Live fails if you get this cooler. Now you know what to avoid. So I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I really hope you're enjoying RocheTechnology 2.0 as I kill the tripod. But I really hope you're enjoying the brand new website. I hope you found this video somewhat helpful, and hope I kept you entertained for probably about 2 hours or so. So thank you guys very much for watching. I'm at CPUKid on Twitter, and apparently every body part of me has a Twitter account, so somehow you can get in contact with me. Done tons of Twitter accounts here. I'm looking around. Door, moose, scissors, knife, shoulder, boxers, tons of different Twitter accounts. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate when I get thumbs up on videos, and I hope to see you guys back on my channel very soon.